most roads are unknown. These are the Paranormal Roads.
Happy Halloween, everyone. This is Paranormal Roads podcast show. I'm Jack.
Happy Halloween, everybody. My name's Mike. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, we're just going to do a quick show about Halloween-oriented things. We'll be talking about horror movies. So I just want to say it's the time of year where people are really interested in spirits, ghosts, horror movies, being scared.
Right, it's a great time of year. It's starting to get cold. The leaves are falling off the trees where we are. Everybody's getting their costumes ready, going to go out and buy their costumes and load up on candy for them trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, so the Halloween, people really don't know what Halloween came from, but in the
history of it, yeah, right.
We'll just touch a little bit of it, but it's from All Hallows Eve.
Right.
And I'll let Mike start with the history, and I'll just go in.
Well, I just wrote a few notes. It's a Christianized feast influenced by Celtic harvest festivals with possible pagan roots. You know we're all about that. Yeah,
and the interesting thing is, here's the thing. It's originally comes from something called the Samhain. It's from the Celtics. And they said they started it. But then Christianity, it was like a war. They said they started it. So there's actually another day that the Christians did the day after Halloween called All Saints Day.
Right.
So you may think Halloween's just like another holiday, but if you go back in time, people were killed over this.
Oh, yeah.
There were war of words. So people were fighting over who started it, but I believe it probably started with the Celtics.
Oh, right. Well,
the Christians usually take credit for things later, so.
Oh, sure. Churches have always fought. The Christian churches, pagan churches. It's always been war.
Over
days, who started this, who started that.
Yeah, that's why, just to touch a little bit, that's like all the old Norse religions, like Odinism.
Right.
Like, we get our days of the week. Like, Thursday's named after Thor.
Right.
And Friday's named after Freya. Those are all Norse gods and goddesses and stuff. But They came to terms. They said, okay, we're going to take credit for it, but we'll let you in here. But, actually, the Christianity didn't really start any of that. But they take credit. They, in order to, convert people, they, kind of, blended. And this is what they did back then, thousands of years ago. So,
well, sure.
I believe the Celtics...
Conversion by force a lot of times.
And there's evidence that the Celtics started this, because you look at, the Druids. This is what the Druids did. This is what the people did at Stonehenge. And it was really All Hallows Eve. What it was a day where they paid respect to the dead.
Right. That's a lot of it. You hear of, even today, there's cultures that have a Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead. Well, it used to be a week. It used to be 7 days to remember the dead. But it kind of over the years, it got pared down to just a small one day. So it could have came from that.
Yeah.
The long 7-day celebrations of the deceased down to one day.
Yeah. I think they picked, the day that was picked is also important because it's the day of harvest usually.
Right.
So, and whenever you go to the other side, that's like you're harvested. Your day here is done. You're actually, your time on earth is only you're growing, and now your true self is in another realm. So
right, exactly. Well, you can feel when autumn comes, around this time in October, you can feel the energy. The trees are starting to go into hibernation. They're losing their leaves. It gets cold. It gets misty, and when there's mist and there's water and there's cold, what do you got? You got a lot of ghosts.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of people are seeing spirits around this time of the year.
Oh yeah, it's very strong.
The pull of the moon.
Oh yeah,
right.
But there's forces at work we don't understand.
Right.
But the people back thousands of years ago, they understood more now. And they actually, the meaning of All Hallows Eve or Halloween, it had more meaning back then. Now, it's like candy and costumes.
Yeah,
so.
the energy behind it is almost a negative energy, sort of. Because you have, I don't know.
It's not respected.
Right.
It's trying to say it's...
Well, the energy is kind of negative.
Well, it's there, but they're not being... They're being passed. They're not looked at.
So. For Easter, they made up a bunny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What do they make up for Halloween? Evil stuff.
Yeah.
Ghosts. Goblins.
Well, here's the thing behind that. Going back to the United States, we're Americans. And proud to be an American. But Halloween wasn't always practiced in America.
Right.
It wasn't until 1866 where it was actually practiced. So we went hundreds of years where they didn't practice Halloween here.
Right.
The reason why I came here, this is also evidence that it was actually started more of a Celtic tradition, is because when the Irish came here in the late 1800s, and they came here right during the Civil War, and they were allowed to come here then because we need, like, that's a whole story there.
Oh, sure.
U.S. government said we need people to fight for us.
You want to be Americans? You have to fight first.
But it wasn't like the Irish weren't coming here to fight. Everyone says Irish are good fighters. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
true.
That was the same time there was a famine going on. So it was kind of like everything was going.
It was just a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Of everything just coming together.
The Irish needed somewhere to go. The United States needed people to fight for them.
We were in the middle of a war. People were probably depressed.
Yep.
They were being forced to do things, you know.
Yeah.
They come to America with hopes of having land and being prosperous.
Yep.
And the next thing they know, they were getting thrown into wars.
Yep.
You know, they're living in slums. There's slavery still.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shows. We could talk about that in other shows. But Halloween. So when the Irish came in 1860s, and 1866 was like really the first Halloween in America.
Right. They
brought their culture here. So it's really a Celtic. It's a Celtic culture. That's why, like, the Christianity said that they made All Saints Day like the next day, and then they kind of merged with it, but it's more of a Celtic culture. So the Irish came to America, and then Halloween came, and you have pumpkins. We'll talk about, like, what are things associated with Halloween.
Well, the food aspect, I didn't know. I didn't know there was a big, because, you know, apples, potato, bread, you know, you have, I didn't realize when I was doing research for the show that food had a lot to play a part of
it. Yeah,
it
was usually, it's kind of like in the Muslims, you weren't allowed to eat meat on Halloween.
Right, it was fasting. I did not know that.
Yeah, there was no meat on Halloween.
It was a day of fasting.
So they ate
a lot of
potatoes, a lot of bread. Well, like, that's like Irish food right there, but without the meat.
Yeah, they kept away from meats. Yeah, protein. Right.
But now people don't really follow that now.
Yeah, it's kind of turned into, now it's like trick-or-treating, costume parties, bonfires outside, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Go in the haunted houses, you know, paying to go to a haunted house. We don't pay to go to haunted houses. We go to actual haunted houses and, you know, do ghost hunting.
But
horror films, which we want to talk about.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
But the Irish culture, they also brought the pumpkin over. Like, carved pumpkins. You may think that's like a modern thing, but that was actually practiced back in the 1860s. It was actually named, they carved pumpkins, and it goes to old folktale of a guy named Stingy Jack.
Stingy Jack.
And I don't know the whole story on it, but he must have been stingy. But so there's a folktale called about Stingy Jack. So that's where you get the name Jack-o'-lantern.
Ah.
So that's an Irish folktale. So that they brought that with us too. So nowadays you wouldn't know that. Everyone knows what a jack-o'-lantern is, but they don't know where the name came from, and but But it's been around for a while.
Singy Jack, huh?
Yeah, so...
That's funny. But, yeah, so everybody loves to be scared. Everybody loves to be frightened. That's why I think, like, this time of year, there's a lot of movies, scary movies, that come out in droves. People just love to be scared.
Yeah, you get an adrenaline rush.
Sure.
So, it's like a controlled scare.
Right, and it goes with the energy. Everything's kind of gloomy and dark and perfect time of year.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say they love watching, like, the ghost investigations on TV, but they don't like to go.
Right.
They like to be scared at home, like on where they won't be in danger, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's the culture we live in, too. I remember, you know, the movies of the time when I was growing up were like the, Halloween. The movie Halloween. You know, what was the guy with the mask? What was that one?
Michael Myers.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, I remember that.
Well, my first horror movie I seen, I was 6 years old. I remember watching this. I watched like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, yeah.
That came out when I was around 6 years old. So...
For its time, that was pretty creepy, that movie.
Even back when I was a kid, I didn't get scared of things too much. But that movie creeped me out when he took... if the young kids out there don't know this, Nightmare on Elm Street, the killer's name is Freddy Krueger.
Right.
In that movie. And they made, like, 8 movies?
Yeah, they made a bunch. I think I saw, like, the first 3.
And they even, like, Friday the 13th is another horror movie. And it has Jason Voorhees as the killer in that movie.
Right.
They actually made a movie where it's Freddy vs. Jason. That came out 2 years ago.
I saw that. I wanted to see that movie. Maybe I'll watch it this year.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's one of the better ones. Because the thing with horror movies, they make so many of them. But you have some dumb ones.
Oh, yeah.
But they're just trying to get a quick scare out of people.
Oh, sure.
It's like, but back to when I was 6, so my first horror movie I seen was Nightmare on Elm Street, and I didn't really get scared, but there was some gore where I was like, ugh. Yeah. But the part that got me was, Freddy Krueger has these, he killed people with, he wore a glove with 4 blades on his
like
fingers.
Knives, yeah.
And there was a scene where he put his hand on the chalkboard, and that scratching noise just irritated me so bad it actually scared me.
Yeah.
I remember that when I was a kid.
I remember one part in the Friday the 13th movies, because I just thought they were silly at first.
Yeah.
But one part, because I used to do a lot of camping. So they were out camping, and, you know, the guy comes along, and the girl hides herself in the sleeping bag.
Yeah.
He picks up the sleeping bag and he slams it against a tree. You know, it's not graphic at all. Sometimes the less graphic ones are better. Because I used to camp and sleep out in my sleeping bag all the time. So now, every time I go camping, I think of that Friday the 13th where he's slamming that girl against a tree in the sleeping bag.
Yeah, that's like
So it could stick with you.
It's kind of like there's a culture of horror movies in America. I think it started with like Alfred Hitchcock.
Right.
Where he would do like psychological things. He didn't use a lot of gore. So this is back in like the 50s, okay?
Right.
From the 50s all the way up to, I say, like the 70s.
Like suggestion and innuendo more than actual blood.
Yeah, you didn't really see blood, guts. You seen like psychological things, like birds.
Right.
So you just have all these birds hitting windows and stuff. And Psycho, you not actually seen no one ever get killed, but you seen a shadow and you seen a knife.
Right.
So it shows you like in the 50s, 60s, it was like people were still scared. It's like that's a type of film. And then back in the 70s, then they started going realistic.
Right.
People were scared of Jaws was like the horror movie.
Exactly.
In the 70s.
Yeah, Jaws is a horror movie. Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is where you get real life things. Like you could be killed by a shark.
Sure.
And then you had that back then. Probably the biggest horror movie then was what's in it? You get possessed. What's it?
Oh yeah, the one with the head that's spin around.
Yeah, which one was that?
Oh my goodness, what's the name of that movie? I don't know. I can't think.
We got Omen's Child.
Right, there's those type of movies, like religiously based.
Well, back in the 70s, you had religious-based movies were popular.
Right, Exorcism.
Exorcist.
The Exorcist. Right,
Yes.
that's it.
So
yeah. Movies about exorcism were big at the time. You're right. They did chain of movies like that.
Yeah, so the 50s to 60s, you had psychological horror thrillers,
right,
like Psycho, Birds, like Hitchcock was big. Yeah. 70s, you got they try to get you with religious themes and animals and like things in real life,
right,
things that could they're trying to scare people with things that you think that could actually kill you while you're walking down the street, or people went to church a lot back then.
Right.
Like now, people really don't go to church as much.
Right.
I mean, they don't. People do, but
the numbers have declined greatly.
And then you hit the 80s. The 80s is like the gore.
Right.
The 80s is known as like the horror.
Where they get into...
You got Jason Voorhees, you got Michael Myers.
Aesthetics where heads are being splashed and blood's gushing everywhere and guts are falling out of you.
Yeah, so if you really want to get scared with if things are disgusting, and there's a lot of smaller movies from back then.
Right.
And I don't remember the names, but just go to horror movies. And you see there's a lot of horror movies were made in the 80s. A lot.
Oh, sure.
Because it's the cheapest type of movie you can make.
Well, then in the 90s and the early 2000s, they combined, to me it seemed like, I don't know if this is true, but the gore and hillbillies. There was a lot of things like that.
Well, there's a lot of ghost movies now.
Something that might happen, you might be driving through West Virginia and...
Wrong Turn.
Wrong Turns.
They've made 4 or 5 of those.
Movies like that, yeah.
So... And these are things that pretty much serial killers are getting big in the 90s.
Right, that too.
So the 90s, you got serial killers, you got psychotics, people are crazy people, that's big. And now, within the last 5-6 years, it's kind of like paranormal.
Right.
Paranormal stuff.
Yeah, the movies about, what's that one where it's they're videotaping themselves.
That's paranormal...
something or other.
Yeah, well, you guys know what we're talking about.
Hey, they stole our name.
Yeah.
Or did we steal their name? Yeah.
But, anyway, that's the movies. So...
Good to watch. I don't watch horror movies too often, but every once in a while, if you don't watch horror movies for a while, and then you watch horror movies, afterwards you realize, wow, you remember the experience. You can feel, the vibration in you after.
Oh, yeah.
Creeped out. Almost shaky, almost. So...
Yeah, my son actually, he's 9. He wants to go watch that movie, Annabelle.
Oh, with the doll?
Yeah, it has a doll. All the kids are talking about it.
Oh, there was all those doll movies. Chucky, and now there's Annabelle.
And they purposely make movies like this. Well, Annabelle is based off a true story.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. But they target young kids. If you notice that, young kids are targeted for horror films.
Right.
There's always an audience.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but
well, why don't we, since we're doing our Halloween show, why don't we show them why don't you tell them about a spirit box?
I brought a spirit box. This is a spirit box I brought. I'll turn it on.
It looks
it's
like
a radio. It's a small radio, and then it just scans really fast.
Like a police scanner.
Yeah, so when I turn this on... So when you take this to an investigation, you'll be in places where you won't have no reception. So, but we have reception where we're at in the studio. So when I turn this on, you might hear a radio station going. And once it starts sweeping, that's what we call it, we might pick up a voice. Now that you have to listen for radio, and then a voice would actually carry over a few stations.
Right.
If we would hear something.
For an instant of a second, you might hear a radio station come in, and that's not what we're listening for.
Yeah, you wanna listen for a voice that would be over top of the radio.
Right.
That may be on 6 stations.
Sure.
So I'm gonna turn this on.
Right, and you have to really pay attention. So we'll just ask a few questions.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
No, it's not sweeping yet. And I'm gonna sweep. You can sweep forward or reverse.
Okay.
I'm gonna sweep.
What works better?
I'm gonna sweep forward. I don't think there is anything that works. Yeah.
Yeah. See, you can hear the radio stations pop in.
Now we can ask a question. You want to ask a question?
Oh, sure. Is there anybody here that would like to speak through the spirit box? I hear a lot of radio.
I heard possibly something say no.
There's nobody here, so he answers no. You know, I love ghosts. They love to play tricks on you, just like humans.
Do you know who? Can you name one of us? Now I'm expecting something to say Jack or Mike. So if you hear that, then that's the intelligent. Can you name any of the people in this room?
Did you hear that? What was that? That said Mike, didn't it? Didn't that sound like Mike?
Maybe.
Sounded like Mike.
Can you say that again? Can you name again people in this room? Sound like Mike. That one spot.
I heard it the first time.
Did you say Mike?
What is your name? Can you tell us your name? Can you tell us your name again? I didn't quite hear that.
Keith?
Keith?
I heard something go over
Sounded
the
like
line. Said Keith.
Where are you
Wow.
from? Where are you from, Keith? I didn't hear anything that time.
All right, I think
That's good. That's a nice little.
that's. I turn it off.
Yeah, it's a nice little introduction to spirit boxes.
So the spirit box, it's like you sweep high frequency through radio.
Right, and you can't buy those anywhere.
I got mine off eBay.
Oh, okay.
So you can. They only make so many a year. So
Right, you were telling me that. There's another device.
the Ovilus.
We have got to get our hands.
They only
on
make
those.
like 300 of those a year.
Right, because some guy makes them.
Yeah,
Or
because
a
his
group of-
daughter passed away, so he makes paranormal equipment to contact his daughter.
Huh.
So, very interesting.
And it types it.
Yeah, instead of it sweeps through just like a dictionary of words, and then it'll just pop words up. So it has no interference with any other people
or radio stations.
or radio stations. It actually sweeps through.
Up.
It sweeps through like a dictionary. It has like it's got preloaded words and just.
Oh wow!
So the ghost will just pick words to use.
Oh.
But the funny thing, I've seen this like on TV. The people that use it, there will be words that are not programmed in there.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So they really want to know. They really want to be known.
So you get these words that will just pop up, and like these aren't programmed.
Oh, we got to get our hands on one of them.
So,
right. Well, we'll be doing a lot of ghost huntings here in the future. We're starting to, get ready for that. I'm going to buy some new equipment. Maybe we could buy one of those.
yeah, I want to get an Ovilus. They have like a new model every year, so every year they get a little better. But they're like handmade by the guy. I don't know his name. I forget his name, but
Right.
be an interesting topic. But
well, that sounds pretty good.
I think it's close to a wrap. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that was a nice little show.
We're just talking about Halloween quickly. Just have a safe Halloween. Dress up. We could have talked about a lot of things, but you know how everybody knows Halloween. It's costumes and candy now.
Right.
So get yourself the best costume. If you're like my girlfriend, I always tell her to get something that she looks hot in, because that's popular now. You know what I mean? That's what's popular these days.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's turned more into adults these days. Back when we were kids, it was more kid oriented.
Yeah. I haven't been to any
now it's not
adult Halloween parties lately, but they are fun.
Yeah,
because you get to dress up and maybe people won't know who you are. It's kind of cool. I like Halloween parties.
Yeah, but I'd say Halloween has changed over the years. So it started in 1866 in America, And it was more to scare away spirits. People wore costumes to scare away the dead.
Right, and they lit candles.
Yeah, they lit
candles.
That's why
light.
They lit the. That's why they carved the pumpkins, because they carved scary faces. Because people were scared of spirits. They were scared of things gonna get them.
Right.
They were scared for their lives.
Absolutely.
Because they believed that on this time of the year, the dead. They believed the veil between the living and the dead was gone.
Right.
And that the dead and the spirits, the evil, they weren't scared of like good spirits. They're scared of evil spirits. It was like the gates of hell are open on Halloween, and you could be sucked to hell.
And I'll tell you what, Jack, there was a lot of superstition back there, but I believe it was based on a lot of fact. There are a lot of scary things out there. I know human beings now, we trapped ourselves. We made houses to trap ourselves.
Yeah.
From what's outside.
Yeah.
And we did for a good reason. There are scary things out there. There are ghosts. There are creatures that we don't know about.
Oh, yeah.
We're locking ourselves away. We're putting ourselves in prison to keep ourselves safe. It's still out there.
Oh, yeah. But that's been forgotten.
Those people were right. They were right. There's scary stuff.
We have successfully protected ourselves so much that we have forgotten the meaning of Halloween. The people practice this to protect themselves. They dressed up. They didn't dress up for fun. They dressed up to protect themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And it's now...
It's all fun now. It's all candy and parties and...
And the dressing up, maybe it is protecting. So maybe when you're putting... Think about this.
So the spirits won't follow you home.
You're putting your kid in a costume, and you think it's all fun, but you maybe just be saving your child's life.
Right.
So...
That's true. There's a lot of scary stuff out there, people. So be careful out there. Make sure you pray. Don't let any evil spirits come home with you, because they will.
Yeah.
I know you might think it's a joke, but it is not. We've had it happen to us, where negative energy and spirits and ghosts have followed us home because we were out ghost hunting. You have to pray to make sure it doesn't follow you.
They will follow. But I think I think the show...
Yeah, that's great. You know, Halloween's coming up in a couple days. I'm real excited. You know, I'm going to be handing out candy. I bought a big old bag of candy, and we get 250 kids.
Wow.
We get a lot.
I get about
of people.
200 kids.
Right. I live right in the middle of the city. You get a lot of kids. Usually what happens is after an hour, our Halloween around here, trick-or-treating is 2 hours. Hour and 15 minutes, I'm out of candy.
Yeah.
But you can really spend a lot of money on that.
All right, so paranormalroads.com. Visit the website. We're wishing everybody a happy Halloween, so go to paranormalroads.com. You can contact us at paranormalroads@gmail.com. Mike selling books. You can go Google Alien Search Guide.
Psychic Ghost Stories, 99 cents.
This is new book. Get it while it's hot on the shelf. Psychic Ghost Stories.
It's true stories. These are a compilation of true, real stories. That's what makes it scary. These are people that the ghosts follow them home.
Oh yeah.
It's a quick read, but it's funny. I hope it's funny and scary. Every time I go through and read the stories, I'm like, wow, that's really scary.
Yep.
You know?
So have a safe, happy Halloween. Dress up. Don't forget to dress up, because you don't want to be undressed by a spirit.
Yeah, happy Halloween, everybody.